Namaste. I'm going to read Book 7, Chapter 34 on the knowledge and final emancipation. Om Vakratuna Mahakaya Surya Koti Samaparvanida Veganam. Om Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Deva Maheshwara Guru Saksha Brahma. Hari Om Tat Sat. The Devi said, O Devas, you are not at all worthy to see this, my wonderful cosmic form. Where are ye? And where is this, my form? But it is my affection towards the bhaktas that I have shown to you all this great form of mine. Nobody can see this form without my grace. The study of the Vedas, the yoga, the gift, the sacrifice, the austerities, or any other sadhanas are quite incompetent to make this form visible to anybody. O King of Mountains, now hear the real instructions. The Great Self is the only supreme thing in this world of Maya illusions. It is that under the various upadhis of an actor, an enjoyer performs various functions leading to the dharma, righteousness, and the adharma, unrighteousness. Then he goes into various wombs and enjoys pleasure and pain according to his karma. Then again, owing to the tendencies pertaining to these births, he becomes engaged in various functions and gets again various bodies and enjoys varieties of pleasures and pains. O best of mountains, there is no cessation of these births and deaths. It is like a regular clockwork machine. It has no beginning and it goes on without to an endless period. Ignorance or avidya is the cause of this samsara. Desire comes out of this and action flows thence. So men ought to try their best to get rid of this ignorance. O King of Mountains, what more to say than this, that the goal of life is attained when this ignorance is destroyed. The highest goal is attained by a jiva when he becomes liberated, while ignorance is destroyed. The highest goal is attained by a jiva when he becomes liberated while living. And vidya is the only thing that is able and skillful in destroying this ignorance, as darkness cannot dispel darkness. So the karma done out of ignorance is ignorance itself, and such a work cannot destroy ignorance. So it is not proper to expect that this avidya can be destroyed by doing works. The works are entirely futile. The jivas want again and again the sensual enjoyments out of this karma. Attachment arises out of this desire. Discrepancies creep in and out of this ignorant attachment. Great calamities befall when such faults or discrepancies are committed. So every sane man ought to make his best effort to get this jnanam, knowledge, and as it is also enjoined in the sutras that one ought to do actions and try to live 100 years, so it is advisable to do works also. Again, the sutras declare that the final liberation comes from knowledge. So one ought to acquire jnanam. If both these be collectively followed, then works become beneficial and helping to jnanam. Therefore, the jivas should take up both of these. Others say that this is impossible owing to their contradictory natures. The knots of heart are let loose by jnanam and the knots are knit more by karma. So how can they be reconciled? They are so very diametrically opposite. Darkness and light cannot be brought together. So jnanam and karma cannot be brought together. Therefore, one ought to do all the karmas as best as one can, and as enjoined in the Vedas, until one gets Chittas Uti, the purification of one's heart and mind. Karmas are to be done until Sama, the control of the inner organs of senses, Dharma, the controller of the outer organs of senses, Titiksa, the power to endure heat and cold and other dualities, Vairagyam, dispassion, Sattva Sambhava, the birth of pure Sattva Guna in one's own heart, take place. After these, the karmas cease for that man. Then one ought to take sannyasa from a guru, spiritual teacher, who has got his senses under control, who is versed in the sutras, attached to Brahma, practicing the yogic union with Brahma. He should approach to him with an unfeigned heart, unfeigned bhakti. He should day and night, without any laziness, do Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam, hearing, thinking, and deeply realizing the Vedanta, saying he should constantly ponder over the meanings of the Mahavakyam. Tattvamasi. Tattvamasi means thou art that. It asserts the identity of the Supreme Self, Brahma, an embodied self, Jivatma. When this identity is realized, fearlessness comes, and he then gets my nature. First of all, he should try to realize by reasoning the idea conveyed by that sentence. By the word tat is meant myself, of the nature of Brahman, and by the word tvam is meant jiva, embodied self, as the word asi indicates, no doubt, the identity of these two. The two words, tat and tvam, cannot be apparently identified, as they seem to convey contradictory meanings. Tat implying omniscience, omnipresence, and other universal qualities, and tvam implying non-omniscience, non-omniscience, and other qualities of a limited nature. So to establish the identity between the two, one ought to adopt Bhagalaksamana and Tyaga Laksmana. Tyaga Laksmana. Note, Bhagalaksmana, kind of Lakshmana of or secondary use of a word by which it partially loses and partially retains its primary meaning, also called it's a tough one. Okay, I want to get this right. Jaha daja halaksana. I'm not going to try that again. Tyaga Lakshmana, a secondary use of a word by which it loses partially its primary meaning. The Supreme Self is Brahma, consciousness endowed with the omniscience, etc., and the embodied self is limited jiva, consciousness, etc. Leaving aside they're both the adjuncts, we take the consciousness when both of them are identical, and we come to Brahma without a second. The example is now quoted to illustrate what is called Bhagalaksana and Tyagalaksana. This is the Devadatta, means Devadatta seen before and Devadatta seen now, means one and the same person. If we leave aside the time past and the time present, take the body of Devadatta only. The gross body arises from the Panchakrita gross elements. It is the receptacle and enjoying the fruits of its karma and liable to disease and old age. This body is all Maya, therefore it has certainly no real existence. O Lord of mountains, know this to be the gross upadi, limitation of my real self. The five Gyanendriyas, organs of senses, 5 karmendriyas, working organs, the prana vayus, mind and buddhi, rational intellect. In all these 17 go to from the subtle body, sukshma dehi, sukshma diha. So the Pandits say, this body of the Supreme Self is caused by the Apanchakrita 5 original elements. Through this body, pain and pleasure are felt in the heart. This is the second upadi of the Atman. The ajnana or primeval ignorance without beginning and indescribable is the third body of the Atman. Know this also to be my third upadi. When all these upadis subside, only the Supreme Self, the Brahman remains. The Brahman remains. Within these 3 gross and subtle bodies, the 5 sheets, Annamaya, Pranamaya, Vignanamaya, and Anandamaya, always exist. When these are renounced, Brahma Pucha is obtained. That is Brahma and my nature too. This is the goal of not this, not this. The Vedanta words. This self is not born, nor it dies. It does not live also being born, but it remains constant, though it is not born. This self is unborn, eternal, everlasting, ancient. It is not killed when the body is killed. If one wants to kill it or thinks it as slain, both of them do not know. This does not kill, no, it is killed. This Atman, subtler than the subtlest and greater than the greatest, resides within the cave, the buddhi of the jivas. He whose heart is purified and who is free from sankalpa and vikalpa, doubt and mental phenomena, knows it and its glory and is free from sorrows and troubles. Know this Atman and Buddhi as the charioteer, this body as the chariot, and the mind as the reins. The senses and their organs are the horses of the objects of enjoyments and their aims. The sages declare that the Atman united with mind and organs of senses enjoy the objects. He who is non-discriminating, unmindful, and always impure does not realize his Atman. Rather, he is bound in this world. He who is discriminating, mindful, and always pure reaches the goal, realizes the highest self, and he is not fallen again from that. That man becomes able to cross the ocean of samsara and gets my highest abode of the nature of everlasting existence, intelligence, and bliss, whose charioteer is discrimination and who keeps his senses under control by keeping tight the reins of his mind. Thus one should always meditate intensely on me to realize the nature of self by Shravanam, hearing, Mananam, thinking and realizing one's own self by one's own self, pure heart. When by the constant practice, as mentioned above, one's heart is fit for samadhi, being absorbed in the spirit. Just before that, he should understand the meanings of the separate letters in the seed mantra of Mahamaya. The letter Ha means gross body, and the letter Ra means subtle body, and the letter I means the causal body. The dot over the semicircle is the fourth turiya state of mind. Thus, meditating on the separate differentiated states, the intelligent man should meditate on the aforesaid 3 vijas in the cosmic body also, and he should then try to establish the identity between the two. Before entering into samadhi, after very carefully thinking the above, one should close one's eyes and meditate on me, the supreme deity of the universe, the luminous and self-illuminant Brahma. O chief of mountains, putting a stop to all worldly desires, free from jealousy and other evils, he should by constant practice of pranayama Make equal according to the rules of pranayama, the prana, the inhaled breath, and apana, the exhaled breath, vayus, and with an unfeigned devotion, get the gross body, Vesvanara, indicated by the letter Ha, dissolves in the subtle body, Tejasa. The Tejasa body, the letter Ra, is in a cave where there is no noise in the Susmana cave. After that, he should dissolve the Tejasa Ra into the causal body I. He should then dissolve the causal body, the Prajna I, into the Turiya state Hrim. Then he should go into a region where there is no speech or the thing spoken, which is absolutely free from dualities, that Akhanda, Sachitananda, and meditate on the highest self in the midst of the fiery flame of consciousness. O King of Mountains, thus men by the meditation mentioned above should realize the identity between the Jiva and Brahma and see me and get my nature, O Lord of Mountains. Thus the firmly resolved intelligent man, by the practice of this yoga, sees and realizes the nature of my higher self and destroys immediately the ignorance and all the actions thereof. Here ends the 34th chapter of the 7th book on the knowledge, final emancipation, in the Maha Puranam Srimad Devi Bhagavatam of 18,000 verses by Maharishi Vedvyasa. Om Jayanti Mangala Kali Badra Kali Kapani Durga Kashma Shifitati Swaswa. Om Tuya Mata, Chapita Tuya Bandusha, Chasaka Tuya Vidya, Dravinam Tuya Sarvam, Mamadeva Deva. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.